So greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking, and I am Del Barzi. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. And today I am very, very pleased to welcome Marina Slagle. And Marina is a registered nurse at BSN RN, and she's a weight loss life coach for nurses. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
I so appreciate your time, taking the time to do this. So the first thing I always want to know is why people are nurses. So why are you a nurse?
I went into nursing because I wanted to help people heal, and very interested in the sciences in the medical field in general, but mainly to help people heal.
Okay. So that is always what you wanted to be?
No. I switched majors so many times, and I thought, no. I was a business major. I was one of those typical professional students. I was business, and I thought, oh, seems boring. I was almost finished with an accounting degree. And but then I thought, no, I think I want to work with people, not numbers, people.
Yes.
So I went
Yes.
into nursing for that.
I always start off with that question because for two reasons, actually. One is that I really do want people who are looking, or people who are potential nurses or nurses right now looking to think about why. Because if you don't know why you're doing it, it can overwhelm you. And number two, I'm very curious because so many of us come to it from so many different paths. Some of us it's a second career, some of us it's like, we were in contact somehow, either because ourselves, we had interactions with nurses or a family member or something, and people just always wanted to be. So, it's curious. I'm curious as to how people come there. But having done all of these things, then having come through it by such a circuitous path, was it what you thought it would be when you got here?
What did I think nursing would be like?
Was it what you thought it would be like?
Oh, actually, no, honestly, no. I mean, it was actually very stressful initially. I did, in all honesty, I told my husband initially when I was a baby nurse that I wasn't going to be there long. I ended up being a nurse. I've been a nurse now 31 years. I was in the hospital setting for 28 years. I ended up changing I had a perspective shift about it. I built up some resiliency also because it has its challenges, it's pretty high stress.
Yeah.
And also knowing that some options were opening up for nurses. There was home health. When I first started, I thought, oh, this is hospital nursing and that's it, or clinic nursing, and that was it. But then there was hospice started to develop because we used to do hospice in the hospital back in the day. And then now there's hospice nursing outside the hospital, just a wide variety, home health. And so just knowing that was reassuring, but I ended up staying there.
Yeah.
28 years.
28 years in different specialties or in the same kind of area?
Different specialties. Like I started off in med surg because I do think that is a good foundation for new nurses. And I did do med surg. I experience at ortho, gynae, GI, cardiac and respiratory. And then I was ICU for a little while, but I was like, if I chart one more hourly urine output, I'm going to scream. It was just, I went to the ER, which is intense too, but at least you're not doing, for the most part, hourly urine outputs, but it is high stress.
It's a different kind of intense. Yes, I get it.
Yes.
And I am glad that you mentioned the different areas that are opening up for nurses, and because that really is one of the goals of this channel. I really want nurses to see that they're not stuck in any one niche or in any one area. There are so many nurses out there doing so many different things. And you can actually be anywhere you want to be as a nurse. And sometimes I think that we get settled in one place, and even though that place is uncomfortable, we stay because we don't realize just how much there is.
Right, exactly. And so that was that was reassuring for me too, knowing that I could always do something else, but I did end up obviously deciding to stay in the hospital
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a very long time.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
You know,
honestly,
no,
it was my commit. Sorry, I interrupted you, but it was my commitment to my family's schedule. It worked out, and I actually ended up really enjoying it. Like I said, it was a perspective shift. But anyway, go ahead and taking care of myself.
Good, 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 good. So, having been in the hospital setting that long and having worked in different areas, is there anything that you would like to see change for nurses?
Well, okay, so I left approximately 3 years ago. The hospital setting, I would say in the hospital setting, definitely the ratios. Ratios were too high, and that made it I would like to see that change. And then go back when I first started nursing, we had 8 hours, 12 hours, a variety. And then they just went to strictly 12 hours. And I would like to see them have the 8-hour option again for people. Because it's just not tolerable for some people, for most people, actually.
Yeah. 12 hours is like,
yeah, it's your brain is pretty fried at the end. A lot
I
of
know.
glaring at the end.
Yeah. 12 hours for me, from my perspective, 12 hours is just way too long. And especially considering that in that 12-hour span, you probably didn't even take a break.
Yes, and that too. Frequently, no breaks, no lunches. Things were starting to get better towards the end as far as like having a resource nurse to help break you. But yeah, a lot of times, no time for any of that.
Yeah. No time. And and no time for it, and no recognition of the fact that there is no time for you in that 12-hour day. To put your feet up for 10 minutes, to take time just away from every other business of it all for you, even 5 minutes, and no recognition of that.
Yes, time to just reconnect with yourself for a minute instead of being all this vortex of my to-do list in my head.
Yes.
In our head,
And then
I should say.
when you finally leave, your feet don't know how to stop moving.
Yeah, I frequently went home with my head still spinning, and then I had a hard time going to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Even waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I may have forgotten to chart this. Did I chart this? Did I do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Those are some of the things I think I would like to see change myself.
Yes.
So what is you are doing now, you're now a weight loss life coach for nurses. Why specifically for nurses?
Well, because I had an epiphany while I was a nurse. I was what I call, we go into autopilot, just kind of dealing and not healing. I was not taking care of myself at all. And I just had an epiphany one day when I was taking care of a patient. I was like, these patients are just so sick mentally and physically. And I was like, they're just like me. They're dealing and they're not healing. My health markers were getting worse and worse. My weight was creeping up and up. So I thought, gosh, that would be nice to be able to help people not to kind of break that cycle and give people a perspective shift, not change. Give them the tools to help them become more resilient physically and mentally.
Okay. Okay. And so the particular focus for that is weight loss.
It's weight loss, but there's sometimes it's not just about the food. There's some other things in there. Like me, I was actually overeating to deal with the stress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why it's like weight loss life coaching.
And when you say for nurses, are you talking all nurses or are you talking just female nurses, male nurses, everybody?
I primarily work with females, but if a male were to approach me and ask for help, sure,
Mm-hmm.
it would help
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah. 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 So you said something just now. You said about you're not taking care of yourself, and that's something of which we are all guilty. Just the very fact that we just talked about working 12 hours without taking a break and not knowing is just not taking care of ourselves. And so the question I ask is, what does self-care mean to you though? Because it means different things to different people. What does it mean to you?
It means to me, it's like providing the self-care that, well, like I said, creates resiliency and joy in your life. There's not, it's easy to not be resilient in the healthcare setting,
Mm-hmm.
or to not take care of yourself, that or deal with the stress in unhealthy ways. There's a lot of overeating and over drinking in the
I
healthcare
was going
field.
to go there.
I witnessed a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, instead of going home, like after a night shift, instead of going home and go sleep, they'd go down to actual happy hour. There are actually restaurants that serve margaritas at 7 in the morning or whatever. Just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, self-care is not necessarily manis and petties, Well, that could be if you enjoy it, but if it feels
If
like it's
that, mm-hmm.
another thing on your to-do list, then don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more ensuring that you're building up your resiliency
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and taking
I,
care of
I,
it.
I'm glad that you mentioned because I was going to come to that. You talked about the overeating and the over drinking, and there is a lot of addictive behavior
Mhm.
that we're not acknowledging.
Yes.
And not to allot blame or to spread blame because I don't think that there is actual blame. Um, it's a product of the way we live as nurses or the way we work, the way we exist. It's a result of that. And one of the things I've been looking at and thinking about is how do we get us to acknowledge that we have all of this addictive behavior. As you mentioned, it's not just drinking, with the eating, the drinking, the drugs, sex, the whole, we do a lot of it. And I think that we need to shine a light on this. Maybe, not sure how to go about it in a nice and more comfortable way, but we cannot afford to have our nurses self-destruct the way we are
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yes, because in our society, well, in the nursing field, there's a lot of bravado, like
Mm-hmm.
be the strong ones. We
Mm-hmm.
take care of people and then we
Mm-hmm.
ignore our health.
Yes.
So much bravado, a lot of not dealing with feelings. And that's key. That's part of my life coaching is addressing feelings.
Yeah.
We're all in
Yeah.
our head. Get in hustle mode and just get in your head and no, forget your feelings. That's too woo-woo.
Yeah. 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 And
Really
even
important.
even it is important, but
Mhm.
even our education did not allow for that.
Right.
Even our education did not allow for that. Our education taught you to be stoic, taught you to not show feelings, taught you to not have feelings, at the same time expecting you to be empathetic. Um, it's just a whole world of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then again, preparing to go from one person to another, whom there may be totally different circumstances, and what you felt in this room, you cannot bring it to this other room. And so in a few seconds, you have to change what you felt or put what you felt aside to put maybe a smile on your face and go into another room.
Yeah. And
Really hard.
that's exhausting to do for 12
Yes.
hours in particular. I remember that. It's so true. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, do it for 12 hours, so many times a day, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you lose yourself.
I do.
What would you say, though, is your greatest achievement so far as a nurse?
You know, it's not some big accolade award. I would have to say, in the midst of that high stress environment, I would have to say it was that epiphany, because if I hadn't been put in that kind of environment, I
Mhm.
don't know that I would have woken up and, you know,
Yeah,
to speak.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so because that epiphany about, oh, I need to take better care of myself had a monumental ripple effect on my connection with my family, connection with coworkers, connection with, it was just monumental. So in particular with my family, immediate family.
yeah, 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 yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. And it is really awesome that you got to the place where you recognize it. Um and not only recognize it, was were willing to do something about it. And
Mhm.
and you know, and see how it changed everything around you.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at my patients thinking,
Mhm.
I don't want to go there. And I'm going there. I'm going to be on insulin before you know it.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I myself I'm an older nurse. I'm pretty much retired now. But that kind of realization comes or came to me actually um late when I started to see people who were younger than me, right? And I thought, oh my goodness, wait 1 second. Let's just put the brakes on here. Because you know, I am heading, as you said, I am heading down that same road. I'm heading
Mhm.
down that same road. So yeah, it's a big wake up call.
It was a wake up call. Yes. Young people with high blood pressure, teenagers.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And the stresses that they're living with
Mm-hmm.
reflected in those things.
Yeah.
So going forward, now we've had the pandemic. We had pre-pandemic and we've had the pandemic and we're now into, I don't know, almost post-pandemic. And in these last 3 years, the vision of nurses has gone through all kinds of shifts. You know, we went from being kind of like, you're there, you're in the hospital is what you do, or wherever you are, to all of a sudden everybody's clapping and calling you heroes,
Mm-hmm.
to now fighting, pretty much fighting for a very existence, because in all of the hero things, some people, you know, made a lot of money, but became a little more visible, a little more recognized, a little more, and there are those who would like to like put the brakes on that. So what is your vision? Where would you like to see us land in all of this melee?
It would be nice to like have even more things in place that help nurses take care of themselves, like we just discussed, like lower patient ratios, guaranteed breaks and lunches. That is my vision, because
Yeah,
that was an unhealthy environment. Less, 8-hour work shifts. Um, More support for them to help. I mean, yes, you have health insurance, but just some other,
yeah, yeah.
like at the children's hospital, we had like support people for the parents and the not just necessarily social workers, but
Hmm.
support people for the children and the parents to help them cope with their visit.
Yeah.
Just something, and we do debriefing for nurses some, but I think they need even more because there's still that bravado there. There's still the addictions.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's still all of that, and there's still the guilt, the guilt. We operate from a place of, if you know, it's very difficult to call and say, listen, I really just need a mental day, right?
Right.
And to have that just accepted as, okay, she needs a mental day. Someone's going to say, well, you're going to leave everybody short and this and that. And we guilt people into coming to work when really they cannot adequately express that they just don't feel, they just don't have it today. And so they come and put one foot in front of the other, you know, and you dare not speak to them because all of their prickles come out.
Oh, yeah. They're resentful for being there. Yeah.
Yes,
Or
yes.
tired. They're just
Yes, you're just tired. You're mentally, physically, emotionally tired.
Mhm. I
And
remember I needed those mental health breaks. A mental health day. Oh,
yeah, and I really think that we need to be able to recognize those days. I really think that someone needs to be able to say, listen, I just can't do it today. And
mhm.
that and it's okay, wherever you take it from. You know, we can't do this every week, but wherever you take it from, I need to be able to feel comfortable saying, I can't today.
Yes. And accepting
And
that.
have
Yes.
it understood.
Yeah. Creating safety for people to feel like they can express their needs and wants.
Mm-hmm.
There's not always that safety there.
No, no. Very often it's not there. Very
Yeah,
often it's not there.
it's not. So that would be I guess that's the overarching vision then. Creating safety for nurses to express their needs and wants and
Yeah,
their
yeah,
feeling.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The just you know, I was speaking to someone just the other day, and that safety thing is another is just a huge issue. Because just a couple of weeks ago, nurses in New York were on strike.
Mm-hmm.
A couple about 8,000 nurses in New York were on strike. And you know, as the media covered the strike, um, first that would come up is money, right? And nurses are saying, when they speak to the nurses are saying, yeah, there's money. We're talking about money as well, but what they're talking more important than money is safety, right? And even in those conversations, it was evident that even though they talked about safety, it was difficult to get across what you meant when you were talking about safety. You were talking about patient safety. You were talking about your own safety. You were talking about the safety of your license. You were talking about the safety of you in your family, you know, surroundings. You were talking about all of this kind of thing where we're saying it is not safe the way we work. And I don't think they were getting it across.
No, because even as far as safety, as far as, I worked ER my last few years, a very volatile environment. They cut back on the police protecting their
Yeah,
budget
yeah,
cuts.
yeah.
So I I didn't feel safe without them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
reconsider where you cut your budget.
Yes, exactly. Please do. Please do. Please do.
Mhm.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse? What would you say? Knowing all that we know.
Well, definitely take care of yourself first. The hospital or wherever you work will always be there.
Yeah.
Don't feel selfish because as nurses, we tend to feel selfish.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like you said, the guilt.
Hmm.
We're used to giving, 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 giving. So as a young nurse, you get so excited and you want to make the money and pick up all those extra shifts. No, first take care of your mental and physical health.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you don't want to end up the path I ended up in. I was picking up all those bonus shifts. La, 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 la. I want that money.
We all do it. We all do it.
And I
We
was
all
so tired.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But you know, and then we, not for nothing, but then we look at someone picking up all those extra shift and taking, and that's the person we look at and say, oh, that's a good nurse.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
You're
that's a
applauded.
tired
You're applauded.
nurse. You're
Mhm.
applauded for it. Yes, yeah. You know, you didn't leave until 2 hours after your shift was supposed to have ended. That's a good nurse.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
It's a tired nurse.
A very tired nurse, a very highly caffeinated, but still tired nurse. That was
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, so that advice is good. Make sure you take care of yourself. Absolutely. I have been noticing, Marina, that I can recognize nurses without ever being told that a person is a nurse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to wonder exactly what it was. What was the quality that I recognized that would make me know as I walk into a room that that person is a nurse? And so I'm asking nurses, if you had to describe the most essential or most recognizable quality of a nurse, what would you what would that, in one word, what would that word be?
In one word.
Me too.
I would say initially nurses are very caring.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is all these things we're discussing, it kind of changes things
Yeah,
as they progress through their careers.
yeah,
But initially, they're very caring.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Caring. They're very caring. They are very caring. And when you speak to nurses, they will tell you, just as you said, you wanted to care for people.
Mhm.
Many people come to it with that. They wanted to help. They wanted to care.
Mhm.
And somewhere along the way, sometimes that gets lost, and
And so
we
I
end up
think
not
all
doing.
these, if we implemented more of these, like we talked about the self-care
Hmm.
vision,
Hmm.
that would change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even the spaces in which we work, you know, um, even if your break room or painted a relaxing color with, I don't know, um, quiet music, or even if that space were changed sometimes, it would help.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we have
and
pretty sterile looking environment.
yes, yes, for environment, um, even if you couldn't physically leave your whole unit, if there were a break room where it felt different, it felt as if you had gone outside, or it felt as if it would make such a difference to that 12-hour shift that you were doing and the
Mhm.
care that you delivered.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Small changes would help.
yeah, yeah.
Small changes.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. What's happening in our profession now, in not in nursing per se, but in health management, um, is that it has been taken over by big business.
Mhm.
And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. I think I'm just saying that in the takeover, um, I'm not going to speak for any other disciplines in healthcare, but nurses don't seem to have a voice as to how this could work or should work. And I want to see us step into those places, step into those C-suites. And so, because it's not going to go back to the way it was, we know it's going to stay big business.
Mhm.
Um, but we need to be able to step into those C-suites and say, listen, nurses are the backbone of this, and we need to take care of them in these kinds of ways while the money comes.
Yeah, and I'm as bad as COVID was, I'm hoping COVID has changed that because they have lost so many nurses because it was just too much. It sent so many nurses over the edge.
I know.
So
Yeah,
maybe they will see, hey, we need to have a voice because I know they don't get it. Let me tell you. I have I work ER and we walk a lot, right? Nurses walk in the hospital walk a lot. There was
yeah.
some upper management following us and they said, wow, you guys really walk a lot.
Oh,
It's just
what do you think was happening?
something as basic as that.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
thought, oh no, and you're making all these decisions for me.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And so that brings me right back to what you were talking about, and your weight loss business. Because just take a look at that. Walking in itself burns a lot of calories. Not only do you walk a lot, and yet it's not exercise specific, but you're walking a
Mhm.
lot miles a day in that ER. miles a day, and yet you're putting on all of this weight.
Yes. And I thought
What's
about that
the
too.
problem?
Yes. That's the sign. You're overeating, you're
Yeah.
just not making poor food choices because you're too rushed. Sometimes
You're
they're too rushed to
yeah.
or tired to cook anything. I mean, not that you have to cook anything extravagant, but some healthier choices.
Yeah. Yeah. You
But
need healthy choices. Yeah.
but we kind of have traps in our environment that don't support healthy
Mm-hmm.
behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
like
True.
like the shifts, the no
Mm-hmm.
breaks,
Mm-hmm.
the no
Mm-hmm.
mental health breaks, the no
Yeah.
support,
Mm-hmm.
the not getting us,
You're not
the not
getting
giving
it.
us a
You're not
voice.
getting it. Let me ask you though, do you think then that the way we are educated, because you know what? Actually, we want to blame all of the outside forces, but some of it is our fault. Some of
Mhm.
it is our fault. We're not standing up for, and we're not um clearly we're not articulating what we need. We have unions, we have associations on and all of that. And that is great. That should be. But clearly, we're missing something because if we weren't, we wouldn't be in this situation. So, do you think that the way we educate nurses um, could include a bit of more focus on the nurse as a person?
Yes, and that's when again, yeah. Part of that self-care would be teaching them how to be more resourceful, more accountable for their behaviors, even under stress, but teach them how to do that despite their stress.
Yeah,
So learning tools to be more empowered and more resourceful to
yeah,
take care of themselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I feel like the education of nurses does not include that at all.
Not at all.
And
Not in nursing school.
it's
I never learned it. We didn't learn it in the part of our education. No. It's so important. I think
yeah,
nurses, policemen, they need,
yeah,
oh, even the doctors there
yeah,
need
yeah.
it.
Yeah, if you're going to be in this kind of environment, you need it. And your
Mhm,
preparation for being in this kind of environment should include it.
mhm.
Right away before you ever step on a unit somewhere, you should have encountered some kind of information that this is going to be stressful. This, you need to see you in this equation and take care of it.
And prepare yourself. Build up that window of tolerance of resiliency so that it doesn't send you over the edge
Yeah.
into the overeating, over drinking, anything that any negative
Anything.
behavior. Or like you said, the oversexing over the drugs. Because
Some of them are
there
trying
was
to
that.
create perfect people. It's going to happen, but it shouldn't be as pervasive as it is.
Mhm.
It
It
shouldn't
is
be as
pervasive. When I first got into that environment, I thought, what is happening to me? What's happening here? But
yeah,
I
yeah,
was shocked.
yeah. And then you know how quickly it becomes the norm.
Oh yeah. So and so. That's well, but it was very sad though too, because it's just there was suicides too though.
Yeah.
And that
Oh
was
yeah.
in the ER, some nurse
Yeah.
suicides. And that was
I've encountered those. Yeah.
yeah. So and of course a lot the drug diversion, well, like you said, the addiction. So definitely something needs to be put in place to help these people
Yeah.
or help us
To
overall.
help us, to help us, to
Us,
help us, because
help
um,
everybody.
yes, because at the end of the day, all we really want to do is help.
Mhm.
So if you
We
help us
can't
to help,
help if we're like that, or we don't help very well if we're
we don't help very
like
well.
that.
Yeah. We end up doing things like throwing up our hands and saying, "Oh, I'm done with this. I really
Yes,
don't want nurses
I've heard so many people say, I'm quitting. You know how many times they've said that, and then they're back the next day, I'm quitting.
I'm
Yep,
guilty."
I probably have said that before too. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I've
I'm
said it
sure.
so many times. I've said it so many times before I actually came to terms with myself. Listen, I'm done with this. I'm not doing it anymore. And
Mhm.
there's so many other ways to make a living. And yeah, I'm back the next day.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, but that knowing there are so many other ways too. So
Yeah, yeah. And knowing that there's so many other ways in is as a
mm,
nurse, to
mhm.
be a nurse and to do that caring that you wanted to do. It's awesome. Yeah. So what we can hope for is, as we talk about this and as we, push forward, and as people like you get into areas where we offer these kinds of services, and become more and more accessible, a nurse offering services to a nurse,
Mhm.
is always going to be better than someone who doesn't understand a nurse offering services to a nurse.
Yes, because I understand their challenges. I've
So
definitely been so cliche, but I've been in their shoes.
I know, no, I know. And a lot of people, a lot of nurses are getting into coaching in different areas, which is encouraging and uplifting because, as I said, we understand each other. So
Mhm.
hopefully there's light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah. And hopefully more and more will have the same epiphany I had. Start taking
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we'll get to hopefully get to nurses as we do, as more and more people do it, we get to nurses before they get to a state of, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, because the statistics are they're not good. Like I think like 55%, I saw a study, 55% of the nurses in the South are overweight or obese. And
Mhm.
then I think like 30 something up in the North. Pretty high, really, considering
Pretty,
how active we are for the most part. Like
yeah,
you mentioned, I
yeah,
mean, I used to walk 4 or 5 miles, sometimes more at work,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and I was gaining.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So all of these things that we do, all of this life coaching and stuff like that, and paying attention and talking about self-care, talking about what burns us out, and talking about, safety and things like that. Hopefully we'll come together to give us a better work-life balance environment. I hope it.
Yes, and more organizations pop up like this one,
Yeah,
the Healthy Nurse,
yeah.
Healthy, Healthy Nation, Healthy Nurse. Did
Oh,
I get that
yes.
backward? Whoops.
Happiness, Healthy Nation is the
Yeah.
group.
Okay. I said it right I said it correctly the first time. I have been in this group for a while and I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also an obesity organization for nurses now too. I found a national,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, that's
it's
good.
fairly new.
That's good. That's
Mhm,
good.
mhm. So there's some shifts.
We're shifting, we're shifting. It'll happen.
It didn't happen in
It'll
our
happen.
time, but maybe it'll happen in the younger generation's time
It
for
will
sure.
happen. It will happen. We've got to keep pushing. We've got to keep going forward.
Mhm, mhm.
Marina, thank you so much for this conversation.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me,
It
Dale.
really, we really need to shine the light on the things that matter to us most. And thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, and thank you. Thanks
It
for
is my
doing
pleasure.
this. You're welcome.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
All right. Nice meeting you.
And you too, Marina. Take care.
Bye. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.